Hey everyone, this is Jordan from Sleeklens.com, and welcome to this week's brand new episode of the Sleeklens Photography Podcast. And this one is going to be all about getting out of any sort of creative rut that you might be getting in with your photography. So photography, pretty much like almost any other art out there, even if it's not even a technical art, maybe if it's if writing a book or kind of any other creative pursuit out there, there are times when we all seem to have it where we fall into a creative rut, when we can't figure out what we want to do, or we're bored with our photography, or whatever the creative medium that you choose. But most of the time when it comes to photography, it seems like we're doing the same thing over and over and over again. So we could be a portrait photographer, and it seems like the only kind of things that we kind of photograph are just the same types of families. We get different poses, we get different lighting and stuff like that, but we just keep getting the same stuff over and over again. So one thing to kind of think about is, how can I get out of this rut? How can I start liking my photography again? How can I start thinking of new ideas to help further a business maybe that I'm starting, or just get better photos in general with different looks and not just shoot the same thing over and over and over again? So I have about 8 little tips that I've actually personally used to help try to get out of any kind of creative rut that I might be getting in. And so I'm going to go over those 8 tips with you today, and hopefully this will help you with trying to get out of any sort of rut that you might be stuck in. Maybe you just don't feel like you should be doing photography anymore, and that's a pretty sad thing. So these tips should help you out because they've definitely taken me out of any kind of rut that I've been in. So the first one is actually kind of one that would be counterintuitive to what you might think would get you out of a creative rut. Normally we think that if you're in some sort of rut, you need to buckle down, sit down at your desk, figure out what you want to do. But my one thing that's really helped me out, at least, is actually getting out of your normal setting. So again, maybe you're a portrait photographer, and you start your days by just going to your computer, checking your email, going through some business stuff, something like that, and you always find that when you get to your desk in the morning, it's just the same routine over and over again. Maybe you're looking over your bookings or something like that. How about take your laptop, go to a different setting, maybe go to a coffee shop, maybe go to some sort of cafe, and just do your work there a couple days and see if that kind of breaks you out of your normal routine. I've actually heard a really great quote when it comes to this, and that quote is, "Old ways won't open new doors." And so what that means is basically the old thinking that you're doing is not going to open up any new situations for you. So trying to break out of kind of any old stuck ways that you're used to doing things might actually jog a little bit of creativity in your mind, and it could start opening up new doors as far as different things that you might be wanting to shoot, or in any kind of different project that you might want to start. So speaking of starting a project, that's the next one. Starting a personal project. No matter what you do when it comes to your creative craft of photography, no matter what you do, I feel that you always need to have a personal project that you're working on just for you. I don't care if you're a super busy wedding photographer who shoots 35 weddings in 2 months. You need to have some sort of project, even if it takes you 10 years, 5 years, whatever it is to finish. Having a really awesome personal project that you can call your own is one really awesome way to kind of break out of any sort of rut that you might be stuck in, where you not really liking your photography anymore because it just seems really easy. And so making a personal project, even if it's something that's away from your standard style of photography, is a really awesome way to kind of get out of a rut. So me personally, I'm actually starting a project, and I'm just going to give you a little background on that. I typically do real estate photography and landscape photography, but I personally wanted to get into Photoshop composites. And so I did one recently, and I really liked it. So that made me start my own personal project of doing at least 4 composites, Photoshop composites, doing at least 4 of those, making it into kind of a small collection. And so they all have to be on the same theme, and they all have to include sort of the same elements. So that is my personal project. Now, it turns out that Photoshop composites do take a very long time to create, if you're working on tons of other stuff at one time. And so this is going to take me a long time. This project's going to take me a pretty good while, but I still have this project. And what this has done is actually it kind of advance my style of photography, because now I know these new techniques, these new ideas that I can apply to my style of photography, and it kind of just opens up these new doors. So it can be something as simple as just starting a small project like that, or it can be something where you don't want to shoot weddings for a little bit, or something like that. If you're a wedding photographer, you want to kind of break out and do something different. And so it could be some sort of different project that you start on your own, just to call your own, to get your mind thinking a totally different way. So to kind of piggyback on that a little bit, when it comes to doing a different style of photography, that could actually be something that helps you with getting out of a rut as well. So again, maybe you're a wedding photographer and you kind of want to maybe break away from that a little bit. Obviously, don't quit it cold turkey and just not do wedding photography anymore, because how are you going to make your money for your business? But maybe do sports, maybe do a sporting event. So maybe there's a high school in your area, and you can just go ask them, hey, can I take some shots? Can I, kind of go in here just for free? I just want to take a couple shots and just, kind of break into like a little new style of photography. Maybe you're a portrait photographer and you kind of want to go out on your own a little bit. Maybe you can go camping for a couple days and do landscape photography, not shoot any people whatsoever, and just do landscape photography. You probably will hate it because that's not what you're used to, but that's the part where you start growing. That's the part where you're starting to get your mind thinking a little bit differently when it comes to kind of breaking into different styles of photography. Even if you do it and you find that you still hate it and it's not something you ever want to promote on your website as a part of your business, at least you know you kind of started opening doors to new ways of doing photography, and that can really jumpstart your creativity. So just like the first tip sounded a little bit counterintuitive to get started with your photography, this one is really going to sound counterintuitive because it just sounds kind of fun. And so this one has helped me a little bit as well. And that is actually kind of a combination of things. If you don't like doing some of these, you can do other ones. But watching movies, playing video games, or reading books. Those kind of three things can really take your mind off of the norm and allow you to concentrate on something else. So let's say when it comes to watching movies, there are tons of movies out there that have a lot of visual effects, and that's basically what photography is kind of creating a visual that you want people to look at over and over and over again and really, really love the image. And so watching different kinds of movies can really jumpstart your creativity. I know one movie that actually kind of jumpstarted mine, not because of the subject matter, but because of the colors, the thinking, was the movie Avatar from a while back. That kind of got me thinking of different things, and it was an animated movie, so it made it really easy to kind of piece those two fields together as far as photography and kind of effects. But that really jump-started a little bit of photography, creativity photography in my personal field. Playing video games, that's another one. That's a spot where you can really get adventurous with your creativity. So you might be able to get a lot of ideas there. Obviously, don't let it consume every bit of your life playing video games. But if you're just looking at the aspect of video games, the everything that went into making a video game, the visuals, the lighting, everything like that, you might have some really great ideas. And obviously, reading books, that does reading any sort of kind of a nonfiction book, or it could be a fiction book as well. Any kind of book like that can really jumpstart your creativity and get your mind thinking. And so that's also a really good one that I like to use every once in a while. The next one is limiting your distracting inputs. And so one thing I like to do when it comes to limiting my distractions, because if you have a lot of distractions coming in, maybe you do own your own photography business and you have constant emails coming in, video comments coming in, Twitter notifications, all kinds of stuff coming into you all at once. You're not giving your mind a space to breathe. You're not giving it any sort of way to just kind of let loose and develop any kind of creativity thought that you have going on. And so limiting your distractions is also a really good thing. One easy way to do this, especially if you happen to drive a lot, is to not do anything in the car as far as input. So don't listen to the radio, don't listen to music, podcasts, anything like that. Just turn all of that off and just concentrate on the drive. Hear the hum of the engine, hear the traffic, hear all of that going by. And what it basically lets your mind do is just kind of roam. Let your mind think on its own for once in a while, and not letting anything come in, and just kind of concentrate on the road. Once you start doing this over and over again, you get a little bit more ideas coming in, and you start thinking about new things like, how can I start getting this type of effect in my photography? How can I grow my photography business? What are new ways that I can do different things as far as editing? All of that stuff starts coming to you when you let your mind breathe. And this is one really simple one to do. Obviously there are other ways of just kind of stepping away and getting away from any kind of input and letting your mind do its thing. But that's one really easy one that a lot of people actually are able to do, because a lot of people do drive. So that's another one as well. So to piggyback off that one as well, we also have stepping away. And what I mean by that one is maybe take a quote unquote vacation from photography. So maybe if you don't see you have a lot of bookings coming up, or you don't feel like going out anywhere and doing photography that day, maybe just stepping away, taking a break from it. Don't even pick up your gear. You can probably look at some photos every once in a while, but kind of limit your input as far as photography related items go. And what that'll do is kind of let you come back to it as it's a new thing. I know there's a lot of when it comes to musicians, there's actually been a lot of people, a lot of guitar players at least, who have when you play the guitar, you kind of develop calluses on your fingers, on your fingertips from pressing the strings. And what a lot of guitarists say when it comes to reconnecting with music and becoming another great musician again, is they know they're ready to go back to it after they start feeling in a rut. They know they're ready to go back to it when their fingers start to hurt again playing the guitar. That means they've been away for it for a very long time, and it starts to be a new thing. It kind of gets them a greater connection with the guitar again. So it's kind of the same thing when it comes to photography. Don't touch your camera for a while. Don't concentrate on photography groups on social media. Just get away from it for a little bit. Let it become new again, and that's one really easy way of doing that as well. Another one is to actually limit your gear. And what I mean by this is, let's say you have the new top of the line DSLR, 40 megapixels, everything. It's got all the bells and whistles, but maybe leave it at home every once in a while and limit your gear. Maybe just use your smartphone as your main camera. Obviously, if you're going on a wedding shoot, don't just take your iPhone. That's going to be very embarrassing. But maybe if you're going out on an outing and you feel like you want to take photos of the family or something, leave your gear at home. Just use your iPhone or your smartphone or your Android phone, whatever it is. Just use that as your main photography device, and let your mind roam about how can I change, how can I achieve an effect without having all of my fancy gear. When it comes to phones and stuff, you have to kind of like zoom with your feet. So you have to learn how to do that as well. So just limit your gear, limit your any type of things that you carry with you normally, limit that to see if that breaks into any sort of creativity that you might be thinking. And one of the last tips I have for you when it comes to getting out of a creative rut is to actually change your space. So let's say you have an office in your house that you use for your editing, for maybe you have a small studio in your office. Change it up a little bit. It could be something as like giving a fresh coat of paint on the walls to kind of change up the look a little bit. Maybe rearranging your furniture, maybe rearranging your desk, anything like that. Or it honestly can even be something as simple as changing your desktop wallpaper to something different than it has been for many, many months. Just change up what you're looking at constantly, and that all ties back to the very, very first tip there, and that is getting out of your norm. Change things up a little bit. Your mind is not going to grow if it's doing the same thing over and over and over again, and that comes to creativity as well. So change up your space, do something different. Maybe you have a desk that you've been wanting for a long time. Maybe it's time to grab that desk so it's different to sit at, different to look at, and you can kind of dress it up a little bit. Maybe change your computer. Don't work on your main desktop. Maybe work on your laptop for a little bit. It can all be something as simple as doing simple things to change up your norm. All right, guys, so those are 8 simple ways to try to get out of a creative rut. Again, some of these have worked for me, and I use some of these very, very often, and it kind of gets me new to photography again, and that's the really fun part, because you start getting to learn new things that you never really thought about before. So those are a few simple ways to get out of a creative rut. So as in every episode of the Sleeklens Photography podcast, we talk about kind of a featured item of the week, and this is one that you can actually do right now while you're sitting at your computer or wherever you're at listening to this podcast, and that is as simple as creating your own gray card in Photoshop. So a gray card is kind of used to help white balance. You have like a medium gray. You kind of have a scale from black to white, and then you have a medium gray in between. And what that does is allow you to kind of help with white balance in your photos and kind of get correct colors. And you can go on Amazon and you can buy all of these really expensive color checker cards and gray cards. But if you want a really simple one right now, you can actually create one in Photoshop. And it's as easy as doing a couple steps. So I'm just going to walk over those steps real quick. So if you're at your desk, fire up Photoshop and create a new document the size of a regular, whatever the size of paper that is in your printer. So here I would create a standard letter size paper. And what I would do is draw a gradient from black to white, from pure black to pure white on that document. And once you draw that gradient from the black on the bottom, white on top, go into your adjustment layers. That's that little button on the very bottom right of your Photoshop window that looks like a circle cut in half, and choose posterize. And that's going to bring up a small little dialog box that allows you to choose levels. And what that means is how many colors are basically going to show up, how many color ranges are basically going to show up, and choose 3. Now, when you do that, you're going to see that you have a pure black rectangle on the bottom, a pure kind of medium gray-ish rectangle in the middle, and a pure white on top. And if you have a normal, semi-normal desktop printer, laser printer, you can go ahead and print that off, and that'll be a very simple color checker card. If you have a professional color checker card already or a gray card, you probably want to stick with that one. But if you're in a pinch and you need something just to carry around in your bag just to get somewhat balanced color, that is one really easy way to do that as well. So hope you guys enjoyed that. I've actually used it a couple times shooting video, and it actually works very, very well. So make sure you guys do that if you're in need of a simple color checker card to take with you. All right, guys, thank you for joining in on this podcast. Make sure to rate and review the podcast on iTunes. It really helps the show grow, and I look forward to getting all of your photography questions in the next few podcasts. Also, remember to use the coupon code SleekLensPodcast over at sleeklens.com. That'll get you 10% off your entire cart. So if there's a workflow maybe that you've been wanting to grab, you can use that coupon code, and that'll save you 10% off, and you can check it out there. So thank you guys for joining me in this week's podcast, and I'll see you in the next one.